I'm rebuilding a GM 3.4 liter engine. As part of that, I've replaced a lot of parts. I'm having trouble with counterfeit parts, so I will order parts from online vendors and receive what I'm sure are counterfeit parts. These are GM HL118 lifters. These are roller lifters. I suspect that these two here are counterfeit, and this one is unusable. I can't put that one in the engine. So in today's video, I want to show you how to spot, or at least how I think you can spot counterfeit lifters. And I want to show you how to do a complete inspection on the parts you get so you know that they're safe to put in your engine. I want to start first with what I think are the counterfeit lifters. So this lifter came from my local GM dealership. I know that this is genuine. This lifter came from an online seller. This came from an eBay seller who claimed to be a dealership and was closing these out. Comparing the two, there's quite a bit of difference here. So first, looking at the packaging, the one that came from the dealer, you can see it's darker blue. The second is the label on the bottom. This is the one that came from the dealer. They're quite different. This one spells out that it's a lifter, this one does not. So there's quite a few differences between the genuine and the one I think is counterfeit. Looking at them side by side, the finish on the genuine lifter is much lighter, and this surface is quite a bit smoother than this one. This one's got a rough, almost really fine sandpaper texture. The second thing I noticed is the finish on the roller. The genuine one has a really nicely polished surface. The counterfeit one, this surface isn't as finely ground, and there's actually fine scratches that run in this direction along the face of the roller. The second is that on the GM roller, there are actually grooves cut into this chamfer. I suspect they're turned or maybe even rolled before this is polished. The counterfeit lifter, those are smooth. And every one of the GM lifters I have that I think are genuine are grooved here. So looking at that chamfer on the roller, the smooth I think is counterfeit, whereas the one with the grooves seems to be genuine. The third thing is the GM lifters are all stamped with a number. So this lifter has a number right here on the edge, and this is laser etched into this surface. I'm not sure if this is a serial number or if it's a date code or a supplier code or what, but the genuine one that came from the dealership has a number. The one that came that I think is counterfeit does not. There are no numbers etched into this surface. And then the last thing, probably the most obvious, what led me down this path is this lifter is really crunchy when you roll it. I cleaned it out with solvent. I've put a little bit of WD-40 in here to try and get it to smooth out, thinking maybe there was debris in there from being in the box. But even after cleaning it out and giving it a little bit of lubrication, it's gritty. You can feel that the bearings are just not rolling smoothly. And so I have two lifters that I think are counterfeit. They came from the same supplier, and both of them have bad bearings. So if I were to put these into my engine, I'd be pulling them out really quickly, and likelihood I'd have cam damage. So using these two lifters, these two fake lifters, I mean, they could be catastrophic. So when you're buying lifters, if you get them from an online source like eBay or Amazon, those marketplaces, they're just rampant with counterfeit parts. Look at the pictures, and what you're looking for is a smooth surface that's the same color as the ground portion, grooves in the chamfer of the roller, and a laser etched number on the side of the lifter. If you don't see those things, if they look more like these, chances are good that they're counterfeit, and you should avoid buying them from that seller. So just because these lifters came from GM doesn't mean they're usable or they're good. The adage of a new part isn't necessarily a good part, it really applies here. So I'm going to show you how I inspected these. I actually found that two of them were not usable. So this one here appears to have been dropped. It's got a gouge in the side here. It feels like it was dropped on concrete. And one of these other ones, this one, has a ding in the ground surface right there. So these two lifters, they're not going to go in my engine either. So let's take a look. Here's how I inspected these, and here's how you should inspect your new lifters before you put them in your engine. So the first thing we want to do, we want to clean this out. These lifters could have been sitting on a shelf for many years, and there could be dried up lubricant inside. Also, the ones I got were just loose in a box, so the likelihood of getting debris in here is probably pretty high. So the first thing I did is clean these out, and I'm using a solvent and just blasting it through to try and get any debris or any old lubricant out of those needle bearings. I then dry them out with a little compressed air. And then I give them a shot of some penetrating oil. This is WD-40. I know that it's not a lubricant, but in this case, just for an inspection, it provides enough lubrication that we can check those needle bearings. So once we've got them clean, the first thing is to check the bearings on the roller end. Roll them along your finger. What you're feeling for is any spots where it sticks or anything that feels gritty. Basically, you want to find and make sure that this rolls absolutely smooth. One recommendation I found online was to roll them on your forearm. It actually does work really well because you can easily detect resistance or any other damage in those bearings if they're not rolling smoothly. The second thing to check is this edge right here. It's got a slight chamfer. If these have been mishandled, if they've been dropped or they've been thrown in with a bunch of others and been dinged around, this area will get burrs, and so you want to feel right along that edge for any burrs or any roughness. This one feels good. If you do encounter some and you don't suspect they've been dropped, you can deburr those with some really fine grit sandpaper. The third thing to check is the condition of the ground surface. It should be absolutely flawless. It should have a nice polish and there shouldn't be any scratches or dings or anything. When you're looking across the roller, if you see any of that, I'd recommend not using it. When I was inspecting mine, I did find a ding in one of the lifters. Because of that ding, I can feel that. I can feel that material was raised up when that got dented. So I am not going to use this lifter. So after inspecting all my lifters, I found 4 lifters that aren't in good enough condition to go in my engine. And these are all brand new lifters. So when you get lifters for your engine, for your rebuild, they're brand new in a box, don't trust them. Take the time to inspect them. I'm going to spend the money now and I'm going to replace these. It's unfortunate because they run about 30 bucks a piece plus shipping. So I'm already out now about $120 just in what I wasted on these. And now I've got to spend another $120 to replace them. But $120 now to avoid destroying the cam or scoring the lifter bores, it's money well spent. So that's it for today's video. It's unfortunate. This happens a lot more often than you would think it would. If you order parts, especially from Amazon and eBay, those sites are rampant with counterfeit parts. Things like spark plugs, bearings, if you order an SKF or a Timken bearing, it's going to be a counterfeit bearing. It's happened with lifters, and it also on this engine happened with main bearings. Hopefully that $120 I just ate will help you out. So if you're doing this, you'll know what to look for when looking at lifters to see if they're counterfeit. And you'll also know how to inspect them to make sure they're good before you put them back in your engine. If you order these parts online and you get counterfeit parts or you get parts that are damaged like these dinged ones or this one that was dropped, send them back, get your money back. I waited too long. I had these sitting on the shelf for a while, so I'm stuck with that 120 bucks. So that's it for today's video. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.